Good evening. It's Thursday night, Fireside Reading. I'm going to start reading. My name is Medallio Green, and I am the author of Youngblood, the hybrid series. And I like to do a little spin on fireside chats, but instead I do fireside readings. And in my fireside readings, I read the first 5 pages of each chapter. So I actually have already read the first chapter, so now I've moved on to chapter 2. And it's been a while since my last fireside reading. I hope that you enjoy it, and I'm going to start reading. I'll need your blood. Mina reached behind her back, drawing out a serrated knife with eloquent black-inked illustrations etched into the handle. Eagerly, I stuck out my hand, and she quickly slashed my palm. Crimson red liquid cascaded into a brown wooden bowl that appeared when Mina snapped her middle finger and thumb together. Once she collected a few drops, she turned and splashed it onto the map, then pushed her hand on Dorian's chest hard. He winced as she spoke softly in Latin, Essentia Monstra Viam. Malia quickly lunged for Mina, who braced her arms together in front of her in the shape of an X to block Malia's attack. Instead of just taking Dorian's essence, Mina absorbed Malia's as well and then cupped her hands around her lips, where glowing white droplets blew out of her mouth and seeped into the drops of blood on the map. Malia growled while Davin held her back. You cannot take essence without permission. She pushed against Davin's arm, causing him to stagger back a few steps. That is part of the agreement between vampires and witches. Mina smirked, unfazed by Malia's outburst. So it is, but I needed it, and he was already so eager to give up his blood. He gave his permission. She gestured to the red liquid trailing along the map until it stopped at the edge. Mina snapped her fingers and the map extended with all 50 states. The blood kept moving until it accumulated into one large blob in a town a few states over. Breath whooshed out of me as all my energy left my body. Dorian caught me by hooking an arm around my waist. My words came out in a whisper. Dorian, he's only been a few hours away. You're not the only one with impassioned feelings about this information. He eyed the map while responding to me. Mina murmured a few words in Latin, igniting a burst of white light that created a holographic projection of the Victorian house where Avita kept Liam. How can a witch be contained in something destructible? Mina pointed to a window on the 2nd floor, and the image zoomed in until we saw the inside of the room. Mina stood with her hands on her hips while studying the projection. You could not contain a witch in something like this, unless a potent captivist spell has been cast. She pointed to the room, saying, This is where the blood landed. Liam will be staying in this room. That plain room with a twin-sized bed enclosed my son, who may have spent his days wondering when me and Dorian would rescue him. My head jerked back when knuckles gently brushed my cheek. My eyes trailed up to lock onto Dorian's. You were crying, Mogra. He leaned in and kissed a tear away on my other cheek. My heart fluttered with love for him and sadness for our son. Thank you. My voice was barely a whisper, but he heard me by the slight nod of his head. I wrapped my arms around his waist as he rested his chin on top of my head. Mina addressed the room. It would be sensible for me to transport there alone first. I leaned away from Dorian, ready to object. Mina put her hand up in front of her to interrupt my outburst. I need to see the warding symbols and the kind of magic that is being used to keep him in there. If Captivus is being used, then Liam is very powerful and dangerous dark magic is being used. Chrysanthia interjected. I agree with Mina. It took me decades to find Liam in my visions. We can't afford to go in blind. I glared at Chrysanthia for agreeing. Fire scorched my veins with the need to bring Liam home, whatever the cost. We need to get Liam back by any means necessary. My eyes bounced around the room until they settled on Malia. Malia's disapproval was evident by her folded arms across her chest, her glowered stare at Mina, and the sneer on her lips. Mina, you can't go on your own. If the order is there, and most likely they are, you would never make it out of there without one of us with you. They'll sense your magic as soon as you appear, if Evita is there. Malia's words were spoken with the kind of dismissal that someone as old as Malia could convey. Mina's jaw ticked as she held Malia's gaze. I am the leader of an entire coven. What kind of magic do you think I can do? Conjure rabbits and pull them out of a hat? That hack magic could never lay a finger to what I can do. She spread out her hands at the projected image that hovered over the table with such clarity that my fingers itched to reach in. Malia's sneer never wavered. I think you're scared to drop in on a Romani witch who built a fortress that your magic cannot penetrate. Mina's cheeks tinged with red, her body tensed and her spine straightened. A faraway look unfocused her brown eyes. A gentle wind ruffled her hair that grew into a hurricane gust, touching all of us one at a time. Goosebumps popped up on my skin. What is this? I murmured to Dorian, who dropped his hand down to grip mine and held on firm. What are you doing? My question fell on deaf ears as no one else seemed concerned like me and Dorian. My thumb rubbed circles on top of Dorian's. I looked up at him and gasped as chunks of his cheeks slowly pulled away from his face and shrunk into granules of sand. Dorian, your face! Oh, half his body slowly faded to sand and got caught in the wind. Rolling around, I confronted Mina. What are you doing, Mina? I turned back to Dorian. Does it hurt? Dorian shook what was left of his head with a frown on his face. I can't feel anything. This magic doesn't feel invasive. It feels right. Powdery residue thickened the air. Chrysanthia put her hand on my arm reassuringly, though her skin was peeling off into granules. Is she taking us to Liam? Chrysanthia nodded. I glanced down at me and Dorian's clasped hands when my skin pulled away. Holding our hands up to my face for a better look, awestruck as it turned into sand. Then my legs gave out. Instead of falling off balance, the rest of my body burst into sand that drifted along with the breeze. Though in this form, I still felt like me with my hand in Dorian's grasp. Everything and everyone were in perfect clarity. Sounds and smells drifted by as Chrysanthia and Malia trailed on either side of me. Mina led the way, eyes still unfocused. We moved at a blurred speed in shadows, like we were traveling behind a curtain. We all gracefully dodged buildings and other scenery. My ears pulsed to the pounding of my heart. Glancing to my left, Chrysanthia caught my gaze and I mouthed, "Thank you," for scouring multiple paths in time to find Liam in her visions. She fought against Avia's magic to break through just a little bit to see fragments that granted us knowledge of what the Order was doing. She deserved the title of Godmother. Chrysanthia's words from years ago came forward in my mind. While time-spitting, I also saw glimpses of the virus plaguing our future. I sat across from her in the sunroom, converted into a greenhouse in Maya Dorian's farmhouse, aware of the Order releasing a virus in a few years. Floating wooden shelves held succulents and budding plants. A giant metal table positioned in the middle of the room carried potting and planting materials with stools tucked underneath. Ficuses and ferns sat in the corners while other plants hung from hooks on the ceiling, on the ceiling closet to the sunlight. Chrysanthia continued to say, "Liam is the only witch who can create the antidote for the Order's virus. He will end an apocalypse." We drifted along while memories hung in the air unfading. A hollowed-out hole ached in my gut for my son. He didn't get to make a choice. His story was already written, and the pieces fell into place as soon as Evita saw how powerful he was. I hated our world and what was expected of Liam. I was so angry back then and directed my ire at Chrysanthia, demanding, "Until you're forced to make the sacrifices that I did, you can shove your visions up your ass and get out of my house." Thinking about that day drew out a chuckle as I looked over my shoulder at her floating form, shaking my head at my foolishness. A cool breeze gusted around me as my limbs materialized slowly when grass, muted to gray, came into view. My feet sunk in it as they quickly stitched back together until the rest of me was whole. Dorian wrapped his arms around me and patted me down frantically. We emerged from the shadows and back into color. He kissed both my cheeks until his lips rested on mine. He murmured into the kiss, "Are you all right? You were so quiet on the way here. I was worried that you were hurt." He leaned back to study my face. I looked into his eyes, which were faint beacons of blue in the dark. The strength in his love could make me invincible. I'm okay, just lost in my thoughts. I think I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're finally here, Dorian. My eyes burned with tears that I didn't want to release just yet. That's page 28 in Youngblood, the Hybrid series by Medallio Green. This is the paperback, and this is from Amazon. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. I hope that you were entertained. The book is narrated by Anna. She is a human-vampire hybrid, and she is on a quest where she's looking for her kidnapped son. She's looking for Liam, and a lot of years have gone by where she has not been able to find him. He was taken by her Romani witch mother, who's very evil. And you get a lot more of her in Youngblood. You get to see more of her magic. You get to see a lot more magic in this book. But he was taken by Evita and basically taught dark magic. So she's on this quest to find him, and when she does, she finds a lot of secrets that have unfolded at the same time. But I hope that you all pick up a copy. You can find it on Amazon and anywhere but paper books are sold. It's also on Target and Walmart if you'd like to get a copy from there instead. I know they have deals going on. The book is actually going to be free the week of the 27th of January. It'll be free on ebook if you'd like to pick it up there. It's also on Kindle Unlimited if you have KU. But thank you so much for tuning in to my Fireside Reading. This is episode 3. But thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you're fans. I hope that everybody enjoyed my little Fireside Reading. And this is the paperback. And the second book in the series, Shadow Creatures, is on pre-order right now for the paperback. And it's so gorgeous. I hope that you like it. It's in the point of view of Anna's sister, Malia, who is the first human-vampire hybrid in the species. So you get a lot more history from her point of view and some surprises. I really think that you guys are going to be super surprised when you read Shadow Creatures. Malia's point of view, it's a lot spicier and it's a lot darker from how her life has been as the first in her species. So yeah, there's a lot more war too because she's the leader and the commander of the hybrid army. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you pick up Shadow Creatures, at least do the pre-order. It will be on KU, but I'm going to be sending out advanced reader copies before I put it on KU. So if you're interested in being an advanced reader, being on my ARC team or street team, then in my link in my bio, you can find the form to fill out if you'd like to be a part of that team. I really appreciate it. If you're already on the team, then pass the form on to somebody else who'd be interested. So you do get some really good incentives being on my street team, not just advanced reader copies. And they also got a preview book for my Christmas book that I'm putting on my Patreon. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. But again, if you want to get a copy of Youngblood, the Hybrid series by me, it's in paperback and ebook form on Amazon and anywhere books are sold. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night. I hope you had a good holiday too. Bye.